So let me just ask then, can we define Labour's position on bombing Syria?
The party conference passed a resolution in Brighton in end of September, in which it said in terms that there had to be clear UN approval and there had to be a political process in Syria. There isn't a clear political process, although one is developing through the Vienna conference, and that we welcome. It does not give authority for military action because it is not a Chapter 7 resolution within the terms of the UN Charter.
OK, well, there is a Security Council resolution to redouble action against the Islamic State, which David Cameron thinks is permission.
He thinks that, and indeed there is a debate about that. My view is that the terms of the Labour Party conference motion have not been met, and therefore when I speak tomorrow to oppose the government's military strategy in Syria, I believe I'm carrying out the terms of the Labour Party conference motion, and also I'm very confident that I've got the support of a very large number of members and supporters of the Labour Party throughout the country. And I just say, MPs tomorrow have got to make up their own minds on the Labour side. They've got a free vote. They have to make their own decision. Now, I'm being criticised for that by some people. Maybe people should think of it another way. I'm saying to every MP, you make up your own mind. There's no hiding place behind a whipping arrangement or not. Your decision on behalf of your constituents whether or not we should commit British troops into yet another war in the Middle East with no end game in sight, no proper plan in sight, a mythical 75,000 strong, apparently unknown Free Syrian Army operation, which is also infiltrated by a lot of jihadist elements. And I think we're going into a very dangerous situation altogether. But shouldn't we instead really concentrate on the political process through Vienna and also ask some questions? Who's providing arms for ISIL? Who's buying oil from ISIL? Who's providing money for ISIL? Which banks are laundering their money? All those things. This has not happened yesterday. This has gone on for a while.
If that is all as obvious as you make it sound, why does your shadow Foreign Secretary Hilary Benn disagree? For a start.
His belief is that we can get rid of ISIL by bombing them. My reply to him and to everybody else that supports bombing: when you bomb a town like Raqqa, where there are several 100,000 people living there who may or may not wish to be under ISIL control, indeed many are trying to escape from there, we're going to kill people. We're going to kill people in their homes by our bombs. I think we should be very careful about that.
Why doesn't he get it? I mean, I can see the force and conviction in what you're saying as you say it to me across this desk. You must have said it to Hillary across another desk. What does he say in response?
Well, you have to ask him, but his view...
Well, you must have asked
I've asked him many times.
Why do you have the guy in that job if he can't agree with you on the biggest issue of the year?
I appointed a shadow cabinet that was trying to reach out to all sections of the party. I promised to do that throughout my leadership campaign. I have appointed a shadow cabinet that does represent a big diversity of opinion. Does it make life easy for me? No, it clearly doesn't.
Well, representing what's right and what's wrong in your terms.
But there is clearly a difference of opinion between us on this issue. The view that those who support bombing is that somehow or other we'll defeat ISIL by bombing. I just ask them to think back Afghanistan, think back Iraq, think back Libya. We bombed in Libya with no future plan whatsoever. We now have a vast ungoverned space controlled by a series of competing jihadist forces, some of which are leaking through into Tunisia, and we've seen the consequence of that. Let's think this thing through. 2 years ago, David Cameron asked us to go to war against Assad. He's now asking us to go to war on a process that will actually be in cooperation with the Assad government for all the thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that have died at his behest. I think we just need to be a bit more thoughtful on this.
We have discussed this a lot on Radio 2, and I can tell you that there are so many listeners who agree with what you have just said. They are very, very nervous. Now, they may well be saying, they might have actually be Labour members who voted for you to be leader. And they're saying, come on, the reason they voted for you is you get into Westminster as Labour leader and you sort that lot out and make them vote against it. And you've failed.
I haven't failed.
Well, you've got to whip them to vote against it.
The vote is tomorrow. The vote will be a free vote on the Labour side.
Why don't you whip them?
Because I want them to be able to vote in all honesty and what they believe to be the case and on behalf of their constituents. I recognise there are differences of opinion within the Labour Party.
What about the people who voted for you as leader? All those thousands of people who do not like this.
They have a Labour leader who's opening the debate tomorrow on behalf of the Labour Party, and I will be speaking as forcefully and as strongly and as firmly as I can against British military intervention in Syria, and pointing out, as I've just in summary pointed out to you now, all the things that I see are so dangerous behind that. And I ask those Labour members, get in touch with their MP, if they have a Labour MP, get in touch and say what their views are, so those members who vote tomorrow can have an informed opinion. Indeed, I've been talking to many Labour MPs and indeed many Labour Party members. The change in public opinion in the last week alone is palpable. We had 75,000 emails in 24 hours, the majority of which, 80% of which, were against the bombing of Syria.
But that's Labour MPs. They're not represented by your MPs for some reason.
Well, Labour MPs are making up their minds, and all the intelligence I'm getting and all the stuff I'm getting back is that more and more Labour MPs are becoming more and more sceptical of what the government is suggesting, and I'm hoping that there will be a very large number of Labour MPs voting against bombing. But I also say to Tory MPs, Lib Dems, SNP, Plaid, SDLP and everybody else, you also have votes tomorrow. Tomorrow Parliament must make a decision. Are we going to go to war again, or are we going to instead put all our efforts, really all our efforts, into a peace process, a political process, a rebuilding process, a humanitarian process? We are not going to bomb our way to democracy.